There are a lot of games out there that, for some reason, get highly negative reputations for reasons that aren't always entirely justified. Whether it be too different, or ruins a character, or simply just new, people are quite quick to shun things they don't like over trivial details. Some of us find a lot of enjoyment in these games and don't really understand all the negativity surrounding them. I personally love defending things worthy of praise, so I'm here to give you my own personal top 10 most overly hated games. Number 10. I love Devil May Cry. It's stylish, fun, and it has Virgil. The best Capcom villain since Virgil, because there's no other choice yet. Okay. The series has certainly had its ups and downs, DMC being a surprising up, and with that means a lot of disappointed fans when their follow-ups don't meet their expectations. Devil May Cry 2 dashed a lot of sword-swinging fans' hopes for a masterful sequel to the original, but really, I didn't get it. Granted, the game is still far from terrific, and the story is absolutely laughable.
No. Devils never cry.
But the gameplay was incredibly smooth and all-around fun. It was certainly more polished than the original, and more accessible to those of us less patient action gamers. Yeah, the bosses were pretty easy, and Dante hardly spoke, and Lucia was stupid, but really, Devil May Cry has always been about gameplay first, and it truly shows with this entry into the series. And did you see that final blow? God damn. Number 9. It's not a good idea to cling to nostalgia, both because you'll be an idiot, and because you'll miss out on some truly remarkable gaming experiences. And besides Sonic fans, there is actually a group I detest more for doing so. Pokemon Gen 1 elitists. These are Pokemon fans that claim Pokemon has not been passable since its debut, and that the original 151 Pokemon cannot and will not be surpassed in any way, shape, or form. They believe that Game Freak is simply running out of ideas for their creatures, ignoring the games themselves, and instead only focusing on the designs of the beloved pocket monsters. Now, the stupidity of this group could be its own 12-part video series, but what bothers me the most is that their ideas have spread into less annoying fan territory. By that I mean that many fans, not just them, are beginning to think that Game Freak is dwindling and that the recent Pokemon games have suffered from poor quality and lazy designs. Well, this is not true. The 5th generation of Pokemon has some wonderful designs, and yes, that includes Vanillite and Trubbish. Just because they're based off something non-living does not make them uncreative. Because magnets are animals, right? And to those who think Gen 1's designs are entirely original, Muck is a blob. Number 8. Alright, let me explain. Final Fantasy fans seem to be really split on this one. Half of them claim it to be one of the greatest games of all time and the best example of the capabilities of the series to date. The other half say it's grossly overrated and constantly whine about how Cloud was turned into an emo girly man. I'll get to that in a bit. But seeing as how polarizing the attitude toward this game is, it really feels like the people who hate it so much didn't exactly play it and are judging it so harshly based solely on Cloud's slight redesigns and character changes in later games and the CGI film Advent Children. That makes absolutely no sense. The game still holds up incredibly well and is what really made Final Fantasy such a huge part of gaming by popularizing the series. It has one of the best stories of any video game, and my personal favorite Final Fantasy character, Tifa. And as for Cloud's recent look and attitude, there is absolutely nothing wrong with a male character being a little effeminate or reserved. Cloud may not be the best or most three-dimensional character, but wouldn't you act a little different after this? Number 7. Alright, so you probably have a lot of comments or questions going through your head right now. I'm sure some of you have expressed them below. However, I'm cheating a little bit. Ocarina is obviously not a hated game. It's the exact opposite. Many people consider this to be the Citizen Kane of video games, and with good reason. But no, I'm only talking about one specific section of this masterpiece. The Water Temple. Yes, I know it isn't a bad game and it's only one level, but I am just so sick of people complaining that this is the worst thing ever and completely ruins the midsection of the game. The Iron Boots should have been a C button item, yes, and this was fixed in Ocarina 3D. But the dungeon is simply not that bad. Yet you almost constantly use the best item in the game, the hookshot, and it even gets an upgrade. Some of the puzzles in this underwater palace are pretty unique, and this dungeon holds what is, I think, the best mini-boss and one of the best fights in the entire game, Dark Link. This was a returning boss from Zelda 2, and it is certainly not as frustrating, but infinitely more atmospheric. Although, I will admit Morpha sucks. But it is kind of a creepy concept to be able to swim around in its body. This is kept in the bottom half of this list because, of course, I'm cheating, as I said. But really, the good outweighed the bad of this dungeon for me. Number 6. Platformers are the bomb, and we all played Mario. I still love the series, and I'm always excited to see what else they do with it. However, what they do with it isn't always new. And that's okay. New Super Mario Bros. Is a series that has had one entry on the last 2 consoles and handhelds from Nintendo. They're often bashed and berated with criticism regarding the fact that, despite the title, they never do anything new with the series. And to that, I say 2 things. 1, this isn't exactly true. We've gotten new power-ups and Yoshis from the series, and the penguin suit is pretty rad. And 2, so what? I don't understand the desire for every Mario game that comes out to be this grand, new, virtual wonderland of joy and excitement. These games are meant to be appetizers, to sort of keep us occupied while they work on the next big game in the series. Kinda like how Nintendo's been giving us Zelda remakes in between the real ones. But all in all, I think people take this series a little too seriously. They aren't the standard Mario games of the series, it's a spin-off, and a pretty great one at that. Super Mario World was the first game I ever played, and I love that they're still making games in that same style with new charm and gameplay mechanics. It's nostalgia snacks, guys. Eat them. Number 5. Mega Man is my all-time favorite video game series. The amount of times I've played through Mega Man 2 is in the triple digits. Seriously, I love it to death. The classic games being my favorite. However, apart from the second one, I think my favorite classic Mega Man game actually would have to be the 7th. This game is considered to be one of, if not the worst of all 10, and this is mostly because people saw the series as getting stale when it came out. Mega Man X was also out when this released, and people thought it was where the series was headed as a whole, and they loved it, and with good reason. But honestly, this game holds up to the original so well to me, I simply cannot believe it was developed in just 3 months. It didn't add much in terms of gameplay, but it did have secrets, and we all love secrets. My favorite being the return of the Rush Adapter parts from Mega Man 6, another favorite of mine. This made the fight with Bass so much cooler, as you both had weird robot dog power-ups to work with. Speaking of which, Bass was introduced in this game and would go on to be a fan favorite, appearing as a playable character in Mega Man 10, as well as a really badass Mega Man EXE villain. This game is a blast to play, and I think it gets far too much hate for what it is. I'd say I would love to see a remake, but that would require Capcom actually acknowledging the existence of this franchise again. Number 4. Zelda, We Meet Again. Everyone has their favorite Zelda game, and many people also have a least favorite, and unfortunately, for a ton of people, that game is Twilight Princess. And that actually kind of breaks my heart. You see, everyone knows about the GameCube tech demo where everyone got so excited about a new, realistic-looking Zelda, but ended up bitching and moaning when it ended up 10 million times more beautiful and interesting as Wind Waker. Yeah, well, the people that complained finally got what they wanted with Twilight Princess, and then complained even more that it wasn't exactly what they wanted. Seriously? This game was fantastic. It may have tried a little too hard to be dark, but I just love everything about it, even being the wolf. People say it made them feel uneasy, and it didn't really feel like Zelda when you were the wolf. However, I think that was part of the idea. It seems like a major theme of this game is being in an uncomfortable, uncommon, and dangerous situation, and I feel the different playstyle helped convey that. Nonetheless, it's a game with problems, but it's an amazing game with problems. Number 3. Let's ignore Sonic 06, half of Unleashed, and most of the Wii titles for just a minute. Sonic the Hedgehog hasn't had the best of 3D game careers over the last couple of years. However, thankfully, Sega has finally decided to get their shit together in the last 3 years. Sonic Colors is one of my favorite Wii titles to date, Sonic Generations was absolutely fantastic, and the upcoming Sonic Lost World for the Wii U looks even better. And even still, I feel like some of the earlier 3D Sonic games got a little too much unnecessary hatred. These more recent games have found a much better mix of speed and skill than any other Sonic game to date. Although the stories for these games are nothing special, and sometimes even cringe-inducing, they do have some pretty great visuals and music. And they play like any 3D Sonic game should. They receive so much scorn and reluctance because of how horrible the games of the past few years have been. And to those who see it in that way, it's time to forgive and forget, and try out a new Sonic game, because I can guarantee you'll enjoy yourself. Number 2. Today's special word is gameplay. Okay, I will be the first to admit that the story in this game is god-awful, and the fact that you can't skip the cutscenes is stupid. However, Team Ninja and Nintendo decided to do something that I thought was interesting but unnecessary for the gameplay. For whatever reason, they decided to completely ignore the existence of the nunchuck and instead build the gameplay around the Wii Remote by itself. This had the bizarre effect of making the controls extremely simple and easy to master. This made the game feel faster, more tight, and in some regards, more challenging. The gameplay is fun. The game itself is fun. Not fun to listen to or watch, but certainly to play. And I do understand the idea of having a beloved character spit on, and that ruining the game for some of you, but as hard as it may be, you can have some real fun with this title if you ignore the awful, awful story. Number 1. While gameplay is usually the most important thing in a game, there are a few game series I play mostly for the story. Metal Gear Solid is the prime example of this for me. While I do enjoy the action of these games, I mostly get wrapped up in the incredible, convoluted as hell narrative. And you know what? Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, is one of the greatest games of all time. And I swear, all I hear about when people talk about this game is how it sucks just because Raiden is in it. And I say screw that. Raiden was made the protagonist of this game because Hideo Kojima found inspiration from Sherlock Holmes, in the sense that Raiden was Watson and told the story of the main hero from his eyes. And I think that's pretty cool. The game was made more expansive and interactive than the first. It had a truly interesting and thought-provoking story, and even some of the creepiest moments in the series. The original MGS was a groundbreaking game that made the medium much more adult than it had ever been, and Sons of Liberty expanded that in ways I didn't think possible after playing the original. This game did so much more with the series than the original, and I regard it as not only a great game, but far superior to Metal Gear Solid 1. Raiden is a great protagonist, and should not be reviled for simply not being Snake. This game is phenomenal, and needs far more praise than it receives. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.